Okay, we're going to learn about special functions, section 4.7. The one we're going to talk about today is absolute value graphs. So let's get started with how they look. The absolute value bars will give it away, and you can always replace the f of x with y. Remember, we talked about that this year. But absolute value graphs are very different. They're not going to be straight lines. They're going to make a V. And the V is because of the absolute value. And be careful with your math. Show your work on these. But take your time. And you remember the table I like to use, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And we're going to put those in one at a time. We're going to end up with 5 ordered pairs. Then we'll come over here and plot it. You do not stop until you see the V that has started. So we'll see what we get. So let's start here with my first number, -2. So if I put -2 where x is, -2 plus 2 is 0. The absolute value of 0, well, that's a 0. -1 plus 2, well, that'll be a positive 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. When you put the 0 in, you get 0 plus 2, which is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. And then put the 1 in, you're going to get a 3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. And then when you put the 2 in, you get a 4, and the absolute value of 4 is 4. Well, let's see what we get with these. So we're going to start at -2, 0. So we can put a dot there. Right there. -1 up 1, that would be right there. 0 up 2, that'll be right there. 1 up 3, that is right there. And then 2 up 4, that one's right there. We only get a straight line. There is no V. So when that happens, you have to sit back and look at your graph and decide, do I need to do +3? Do I need to go out here in this direction? Or do I need to go try -3 and go out here in this direction? Maybe the V starts right here. And so it's your decision. Sometimes you make the wrong choice and you have to do more math, but I think we're going to try a -3. Let's see what we get. So go back up. -3 plus 2. Well, that'll be a -1. And the absolute value of -1 is 1. Let me go look at that one. So -3 up 1 right there. That's it. Watch. We've got the V. Here's the one side. Goes up this way. And then here's the other side. They're very symmetrical. Okay, so you can just extend it out to mimic the other side. And there's the V. And so that's what all absolute values look like. Notice it said x plus 2, and notice how it shifted down here at the 2. So if this said x plus 4, this little bottom here would be right on top of the -4. If it said x minus 2, this thing would shift over here to the 2. And so that's what it does differently. If there's numbers on the outside of the absolute value, that's when it moves the V up or down. And so as you do some of the homework for this section, notice what's going on with that. They do want the domain and range. So let me come down here and I'll type in the domain. Move that up a little bit more. There we go. Maybe that'll work. So on the domain, if you look over here, we could have chose any x, and all of the x's show up on this graph. So what we got to put for that is all reals. So move that up a little bit. Now the next part is the range, and that's a little harder for students. You're wanting to look at all your y values. Remember, this is the y-axis. None of these down here are being used. But the y0, it's being used. The y at 1, and 2, and 3, and so on. So the way to do that is you want to say y is going to be greater than or equal to 0, because that describes all the y values that are being used for the range in this problem. Something else I want to mention is you can use your graphing calculator to graph these if you want to compare your picture and your table. You need to go to the math button to get the abs, the absolute value. It'll just be ABS. It'll look just like this right here. And that'll be in the math button. So you can play around with that and go put it on y equals, the y sub 1 equals, and then put abs, and then put the x plus 2, and then you hit graph, and you'll get this graph. Another place to go is to the Desmos graphing calculator. It's on the Clever page. So you can use it real fast if you want to go look at what this V would look like. Make sure you're doing all the math over here correct and what your V. Be sure to check your odds too as you graph these out. You'll graph them on graph paper, but use your Desmos calculator or your TI-84 graphing calculator to check them with.